Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. So I kind of want to give you a recap of what I remember from the draft. I was able to watch most of the first round. Didn't get a chance to see as much of the second round, but it is what it is. You know, what I saw was players in a lot of cases in the first round kind of go to places that I wish they wouldn't have to go to be completely honest with you. Not so much the first three picks, we kind of knew what was going to happen there. We didn't get any surprises in the first three. The fourth pick, I loved Scotty Barnes going to Toronto. It's what I would have did. I understand how great Jalen Suggs is as a point guard and a facilitator, and maybe you do regret not picking up such a fantastic player, right? And there are other players on the sports that were interesting too. But I just love the dynamic of OG Anunoby and Scotty Barnes locking people up. Those are very physical players, very, very, very opposing, athletic, big guys that can guard smaller guys. And when you consider where the league is going, and you consider the emphasis placed on point forwards who are bigger, guys like Cunningham and Luka Doncic who are coming into the league, it's not gonna pay to have guys just 6'1", 6'2" anymore who can defend and lock people down. You need guys who are basically linebackers, guys who have big time height though, like linebackers who are 6'8". You need those type of guys who are huge and can move very, very fast and track people down and are smart. And that's exactly what Scotty Barnes is to the 10th power. This dude is a world class athlete. Defensively, he moves faster than he should. And offensively, he can see the floor better than the average player. He has Ben Simmons in him. He has Lonzo Ball in him. He has LeBron James in him, Magic Johnson in him. He can pass the rock, like really, really pass the rock. So when you couple those two attributes, you consider the fact this dude is a monstrous defender and a world-class athlete on top of a fantastic passer, you're looking at basically what you're hoping Ben Simmons will be. You're looking at a guy like Giannis Light. You're looking at a guy who basically is capable of playing every position and guarding every position. So, with respect to the players surrounding him in the draft class, I don't see anybody else who can do that outside of Cunningham. Not at all. Now, granted, he's not a shooter, which does bring his value down quite a bit because it limits the roles that you can give him from team to team. Not every team can use him based on that situation. But he's not bashful shooting the three. He'll take it. And he'll make it if you leave him open. So if he's just competent enough to the point where he can stretch the floor, just give me a three here and there, make it when they leave you open, well, the rest of his game is just going to dominate both sides of the floor. Because not only is he going to make things difficult for the defense by being unpredictable in passing the rock and being so athletic, but he's also going to wear the player down that's defending him by defending him and being a nightmare on the other end, being a giant Patrick Beverly on the other end with super long arms. It's not enough for this guy to have crazy motor and a passion for defense, but he also has the metrics that make it so that he's going to be effective every single play, basically. He's going to be the best defender in the league. Him, Matisse Thybulle, Anthony Davis, Rudy Gobert, Joel Embiid. I'm thinking about the premier defenders in this league with size. I think Mobley's going to be one of those guys. Scotty Barnes is one of them. And so I already understand this. At this point, it's just about developing him, not asking him to do things that he's not supposed to be doing. Having him being a spot-up shooter from three, that's gonna kill his value. Get him in positions to do what it does. Put him in funky defensive lineups, weird zones and stuff like that, and watch him destroy teams. He's going to dominate on the defensive end. I promise Scotty Barnes is going to dominate. Put an emphasis on dominate because that's what it is. So, as far as I'm concerned, Toronto got a steal at 4. He should have went higher. I love Green. People think he's going to lead the league in scoring. I think his athleticism is can't miss. I'm taking Scotty Barnes over Green, y'all. I am. I did a long, hard thinking and homework on that, and I just look at what Scotty Barnes is, and I say, I know he can't shoot like that. But defensively, I think what he's going to do it's going to translate to more victories than Green. Green is a traditional shooting guard, small forward, and you're going to find more of those guys, even if they're not as good as him. You're going to find them. You've been finding them your whole forever. Kobe, T-Mac, there's different variations of these guys. Grant Hill, you've seen so many different small forwards who are capable of doing everything, who are kind of slender in nature. You can get more of them. But a Scotty Barnes, a guy that big and that long, 7'2" wingspan, 6'8", who can guard guys who are like my size and be faster than them in foot speed? Nah, you don't find that. That's not something you're going to find next year's draft, and the year after that's draft, and the year after that's draft. But I can guarantee you this. You're going to find more athletic swingmen who can jump out the gym and be Hecka Wiggly, because those guys are practicing every day and they're getting stronger and faster and quicker every day. You're going to have a lot of Greens in the league. Again, they may not be as good as him, because he is an elite player, and we believe he's going to be one of those elite Hall of Fame type players if he blooms to his very own self. But like, there's a Jaylen Brown over there who could do the same things he does. There's Brandon Ingram over there who can do kind of things that he does. You know, there's a Giannis who does it on a different level. Like I'm saying, he's going to be found again. So that's why I don't miss on Scotty. I don't play with players that have crazy metrics and weird abilities and stupid, crazy Westbrook motors. Nah, hell nah. You can't pass on that. Toronto got to steal if they develop him properly and don't ask him to do stuff he's not supposed to be doing. That's what I think. So that was the first player I wanted to talk about. And of course, because they took him, Jalen Suggs lands in Orlando. And I hate it. I loathe it. Why do I loathe that draft pick for Orlando? Or rather, not even the draft pick for Orlando, that's opposite. The spot for Suggs. I hate the spot for Suggs because now he has to fight with two other high-level upside point guards who are just as young as him. And Markelle Fultz, who's coming off injury, and Cole Anthony, who many think they should give the keys to the car to. Now suddenly Cole Anthony's the second best guard on the team, and you don't know what's going to happen with Markelle Fultz. I guess they're going to shop him again. I'm not saying they should pass on Suggs because I think that much of him, and he's much better defensively than I said in my video, by the way. I went back and did homework. No, he's a much better defender than that. But at the same time, it's like now he has to struggle with being in a three-headed monster point guard situation. And he's too good of a point guard for that. He should be having the keys to the car to a team like Chicago, a team like the Clippers, where he's going to be given 38 minutes a game right now and told to go out there and just destroy people on both sides of the floor, for which he's going to do. You know, I did a little more homework on Suggs. He's a complete player. You know, he's a complete player. There's not a whole lot he can't do. He has a football background, and we know that translates very well into the NBA. We haven't seen too many players that play football that don't be contributors on the NBA floor. So, needless to say, I'm high on Jalen Suggs, and am now looking at Orlando to probably move one of those 3-point guards, probably Markelle Fultz. But they're not inclined to do that right away. But that's just a situation those kids are not going to like being in. There was two other situations like that stood out in this draft. Exact same dynamic. You got Mitchell, the big-time player who wears the same number as Donovan Mitchell. He went to Sacramento. Hate it. I absolutely hate it. He's another one of those guys that needs to be on the Clippers or the Bulls or the Knicks, wherever they need a point guard. That's the type of place he should have been. But he lands in a three-headed point guard monster situation in Sacramento, of all places. Now Halliburton, Fox, and Mitchell are going to be vying for the same position, same role. That is the worst possible situation. And I got to ask Sacramento, honestly, I got to ask you, why the hell y'all keep drafting guards, bro? You just signed De'Aaron Fox to a 5-year Supermax deal. Why do you keep having him have to play with guards that do the same thing he does, that are going to arguably be as good as him? I think Tyrese Halliburton is going to be a max player someday if you give him the right role. You trade him to the Bulls right now, I think he's going to play his way into a max role. He'll be the best player on the team right now if you send him to the Bulls. With the exception, of course, of Zach LaVine, who I don't know will be there much longer. But what I'm saying to you is this. These guards who need the ball, who need to be able to orchestrate, who need to be able to show what it is they can do, they're finding themselves in these situations where the teams that they find themselves on already have them there, already have their position locked up. And this is not a problem for teams. This is a league-wide issue. The problem that you're finding is it's not enough teams for the type of talent that's coming into the league. You got more high quality athletes coming into the league than we have spots for. So what you're going to have is 2 and 3 all-star caliber prospects on the same team at the same time. And then you look at other teams that need point guards and they can't seem to get them because of the cap structuring and how things go that way. So it's just, I think the NBA needs to start expanding sooner than later, and I think they're going to. I think we're going to have a team in Las Vegas. We'll probably get another team somewhere else, maybe in Alabama, something like that. But this is what needs to happen so that you don't have too much of this. Because now you look in Charlotte, the same thing happened to Bouknight, another young point guard who should have been drafted sooner, but because of the nature of the draft and what teams needed, slipped in the draft and fell to Charlotte. Now he has to try to compete with LaMelo Ball and Devontae Graham and Scary Terry. Like, that's impossible for a young player. It's absolutely impossible, bro. How are they supposed to show you that they're capable of doing what it is that's going to allow them to make the money they need to make if they got to compete with the likes of LaMelo Ball? He's a point guard, bro. He's never going to get the minutes he needs to show himself. It's never going to happen. So this is just disappointing. This is what you're seeing. It's no one's fault, but it just is what it is. You don't blame the teams for taking these players because these are talented players and it makes you deep. But it ultimately ruins these kids' opportunities to make the most money that they deserve to make. And we see it. Sometimes it derails people's careers permanently. They never turn into what they're supposed to because they get stuck behind guys who are as good as LaMelo Ball. You can't get from behind him. You have to get off that team. You know, I think of a guy like Kevin Porter Jr. Why the hell did it take Kevin Porter Jr. this long to get this type of exposure that he's getting with the Rockets? He's been in the Cleveland Cavaliers team. That team sucked forever. He was on the team for at least 2 years. Why wasn't he ever seen? Had some injury issues early on. They got 2 big-time guards, and he never got off the bench. Simple as that. Got labeled a bad guy because he was frustrated in a frustrating situation. That's exactly what happened. So it's like, look, NBA, take a look at what's going on here. You damn near needed 3 rounds to draft all of that talented, the talented draft class that just went into this league. Damn near needed 3 rounds. The Lakers picked up 3 guys that probably should have went at the end of the end of the first round. Undrafted. I did homework on these guys. They were better than most of them dudes in the second round, I promise you. So it's like, we just need to expand, you know what I mean? And we need to do a better job of holding these front offices accountable as well so that they continue to do what they're supposed to do to balance it out, to make sure the players get where they need to go. That's always my message. And get the most out of those players when they get there. So, yeah, moving back into the draft, another thing that I obviously saw that was really dope was Cade Cunningham, number 1 overall pick. Cade Cunningham looks like a world-class player, world-class person, world-class TV personality. When he steps away from basketball, I know he's going to have a chance to get on TNT. He's one of those guys. Immediately, star power exudes from this person. And you just see it. He's already embraced Detroit, and Detroit has already embraced him. And the path for a love affair of 15, 20 years is possible. But now it's up to the Detroit Pistons to make very, very sound decisions. Learn from the teams around you, both the ones who made it work and the ones who did not. Because I don't think Detroit hasn't been in this situation maybe ever. Like literally maybe ever. They were able to get the second pick in the draft a couple times. One time they did the good thing with it and got Isaiah Thomas. The other time they did the bad thing with it and got Darko Milicic. So, this is a team that just doesn't have a whole lot of luck with the ping pong balls. They just don't. But in spite of that, they've won a couple championships. They've put themselves in positions to get championships in both the previous era and, of course, in Isaiah Thomas's era. So this is a good franchise. They don't have a whole lot of luck, but they make the most of it. In this case, I think they have a lot of pieces that they can move around. Nothing there is really substantial. They signed Jeremy Grant last year. I don't really know how that went, to be honest with you. Their team was awful, so it was kind of scared by that, but we know what he's capable of. He's a big body. Bringing in Cunningham, that's a big body. I like that tandem. Those are 2 of the most productive players on that Detroit Piston team. They also got some guys on that bench that are pretty good, man. They had a center that they found that they really, really like. I wish I had his name in mind. They got a shooting guard by the name of Lee that they really like. He came along. So, like a lot of teams around the league, they found some young talent. Sadiq Bey, don't want to forget about him. He had a breakout last year. He's going to be productive this year as well. So they got some guys, man. And then Killian Hayes, who healed up from his injury that was really bad to start his career. He's kind of showed some signs of life at the end of his rookie season. He's going to come in, going to have to kind of play some off ball. He's another one of those guys in that type of situation that I wish, he didn't have to be in, because he was drafted high, 7th in the first round last year. He still has just as much upside as he had when he was drafted. The issue now is he's not going to be the starting point guard for the Detroit Pistons. Obviously, that's going to be Cade Cunningham for the foreseeable future. So I don't know how Killian Hayes fits into what it is that they do. But if I'm the Detroit Pistons, I look at him as a lottery pick, and I'm shopping him to try to see if I can get a substantial piece. Because it doesn't really make any sense to have him playing off ball when we know that he's best orchestrating himself. So I'd like to see them do right by Killian Hayes. Don't keep him in that situation. So it's a lot of good there in Detroit. A lot of good. I thought they did some good things as well. They picked up a stretch 5 in the back of the second round, a guy who was really, really touted heavily overseas where he's from. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. I'm sorry I don't have people's names in my mind right now, but I definitely know what he can do, and he's a stretch 5, and he's going to help be a weapon for Cade Cunningham. So they found a real gem at the back of the second round. You never know. He could be somebody that's big time, just based on the role that he's going to be given. They got up from underneath that Mason Plumlee deal, right? So the role for a center to come in and do well is even more so there for them. I could totally see them going after Andre Drummond once again, bringing back their old guy, even though he didn't really fit that well. I don't think the Lakers are going to bring him back. I think he's going to be at a discount. That's his home. I could totally see him going back there. And they have a lot of good there. The guy that they have is Isaiah Stewart, by the way, the center. So maybe they shouldn't bring in Drummond because Isaiah Stewart needs a big role. But that's somebody that I think is primed to break out himself. Isaiah Stewart, that's the center I was trying to remember. So they got pieces. Detroit is not devoid of talent. And Cade Cunningham is going to bring it all together. So I thought they might have won the draft just by taking that kid. I think, as I mentioned earlier, Jalen Green, as I said, he is somebody that I think you could find around the league. But as I also said, he's elite, and he may be the best of them all. So they did good, to say the very least. I don't want all that to get lost. I just value other players above him based on what they can do. But if you want a traditional basketball player that you can draft and just see him explode and do a bunch of great things that most people cannot do physically, because he's just an elite athlete and one of the wiggliest players ever, one of the hang-tommiest players ever, then have at it and enjoy, because he and Porter Jr. and Tate and and whoever else, Wood, they got a core of young players that is as good as any young core in the entire NBA right now. I said that before this draft, and they knocked this draft out of the park. The Houston Rockets did fantastic in this draft. They did fantastic finding Porter in Cleveland, on the back of Cleveland, got him for nothing. Kelly Olynyk, I don't know if they're going to re-sign Kelly or not, and I hope he ends up on my team, because the Lakers need somebody like that, even though we can't afford him. But that was a player who broke out. If they can re-sign him, that'll be massive. Christian Wood's going to be an all-star in about 5 minutes. Just wait on it. And really, I think the Houston Rockets are a playoff team, honestly. The moves that their GM has made, the coach is going to have a field day coaching this young team, even though they're going to drive him crazy because they're going to make mistakes. They have the makings of being something very, very special and very, very deep. I don't know what they're going to do with Eric Gordon, but the makings for them to be fantastic and explosive in the open court is there. You will have to wait on them, though. I said they're going to make the playoffs. There are a lot of young players, not a whole lot of leadership there as far as veteran leadership, so I don't know that they can make the playoffs. I take that back. But this is going to be one of those situations where it's like, remember the Baby Thunder? When they first put the Baby Thunder together and they didn't really win a lot of games, but you could definitely see what they're going to be. That's what the Rockets are. They are the new baby team. And look, they're going to show it to you. They're going to show you. I don't know if people are expecting the Rockets to be good, but I do with what they've picked up. Oh, yeah. What I've seen from Porter and what I already know Green can do, that is a potential super team with Christian Wood. Those are 3 all-star caliber players. They got a super team. I know it's funny, but it's true, and it's possible that you see it as soon as next year. So do not sleep on that Rockets team. I very much am paying attention to the type of players that they're putting together, and they all fit, and they're all fast. So look out. That's what I saw there. Mobley going to Cleveland. Now, this is an important pick because I look at Mobley and I say he can go to different teams and change the world for them. Any team he goes to, he changes life because of the length, his skill set, and his ability to move his feet really, really fast and guard players smaller than him. Just like Scotty Barnes can do, this guy can do it, but he's even bigger. He's not as imposing in terms of physicality and strength and speed as Scotty Barnes, but he's wiggly himself. And to be 7 feet tall with the wingspan that he has, he's like Anthony Davis. He doesn't quite have the fluidity of jump shots and things like that like Anthony Davis, but he can shoot. He is somebody you can't leave alone. He does have mid-range game. He's more of like Chris Bosh in that way. Not stiff, but not Giannis, like not fluid, running all over the place like that. But he does have a lot of intangibles that help him just off the strength of his mind, let alone his metrics. So you're talking about a smart basketball player, you're talking about a complete basketball player, you're talking about somebody who has ball handling skills like a guard, a real unicorn. And when you talk about what the Cleveland Cavaliers already have in place, when you consider they already have Jared Allen there, who's one of the best shot blockers in all of basketball already, and then you add another player who's going to be one of the best shot blockers in basketball, it's only a matter of time before you start to realize that Cleveland now has something you have to deal with. Picture two Rudy Goberts, basically. But they're both younger and both more agile and both can kind of do more, and one of them can shoot. So it's like, I love what Cleveland has. Like, I don't just like it anymore. I love it. And if I'm in the Eastern Conference, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned because you have to keep up with that type of center play. Look, for example, a team like Philadelphia, Joel's gonna have problems with Cleveland. When he runs into the Cleveland Cavaliers and he has to deal with both Mobley and Allen, yeah, that's a problem. That's a real problem. And they still got Larry Nance. You know, they have size. And then you consider the type of players they've been drafting. Excuse me, guys, I'm putting my breakfast together, right? But you think about the type of guys they've been drafting. The small forward that they had, defensive-minded. They still got Garland, who's going to be an all-star soon. There's Colin Sexton, who's close to all-star status already himself. The players that they have, you just don't see it coming. Cleveland is putting together something that doesn't suck at all. And this could be the change of life that they've been looking for since LeBron left, basically. I think Mobley could be the player that they're looking for, because when it really comes down to it, what you want to be able to do in this league is two things. You want to be physically imposing, and you want to be able to shoot the ball. And with the combination of Garland and Mobley alone, you have that. Now, what you decide to do with the rest of the team is your business, because I personally think there are things you can do to get better, including trading Sexton, maybe trading Larry Nance, getting yourself some more shooting, getting yourself somebody who can stabilize everything, finding yourself like what the Charlotte Hornets did in finding Gordon Hayward. The Cleveland Cavaliers need to find their Gordon Hayward, somebody who's just going to make all the young players look really, really good by just doing what it is that he does with ease. That's the type of player they need now, because they have everything else. They got all the young talent in place. They got all the length that makes them unicorny special and all that. They just need to find somebody who's going to make it all come together, a closer, a real star to close. So they got to find a way to get out from under Kevin Love's contract. That needs to be moved on from. I've been mentioning Cedi Osman a lot lately, since a lot of players that I've been looking at have reminded me of him. I still like him as a role player in this league. I don't know what his contract situation looks like, but I don't see why the Cleveland Cavaliers should be in a rush to let go of him. He still fits what they're doing, and so on and so forth. So I love what Cleveland did potentially tonight. I think they may have changed life for themselves by taking Mobley. But the flip side of that is it's Cleveland, and it could all go south. They've had great prospects before, and they do nothing with them, with the exception of LeBron James, Kyrie Irving. They tend to not do a whole lot with the players they get, but now we're seeing a difference in that with Colin Sexton and Garland. Both of those guys are coming along just fine. So hopefully that means that things have changed in Cleveland and that they're turning the corner into a team that you have to deal with. So that's another situation I was paying attention to. I felt like some teams did some good things. I like what the Washington Wizards did. They've got an entire rebuild going, but they also got a whole lot of young talent that you can work with. They picked up Aaron Holiday last night, skipping off our 22nd pick to Indiana. I think that Aaron Holiday, especially seeing his brother coming off winning, I can totally see the appeal in trying to get a Holiday on your squad. And this kid has a lot of talent himself. He's really good too. So I just think the Washington Wizards, for a team that's not going to be winning, they gave themselves a whole lot to be excited about. And if I'm Bradley Beal, I definitely want out of there. But if he wants to stay, I will tell you this. If he wants to stay, there are worse places to go. You feel me? And I've been saying this about the Washington Wizards. They've been doing things the right way. What I want to see a team do to build a foundation that I can see sustainability in, they've been doing those things for the past year. So if you're Bradley Beal, you're absolutely in love with Washington. Washington's upside looks better today than it ever has, in my opinion. I think the only problem is you're going to have to wait 4 or 5 years for it to manifest into where it's going. But it's sustainable. That's the beauty of what I'm seeing there. As long as they don't do anything bad from here, what they're doing is great from where I'm at. So if you want to stay there, Bradley, it's starting to look like a better place to be. Believe it or not, it really is. But you're going to have to wait many years before it manifests. I'm sorry, you're just going to have to. So those are the things that I took away from the draft thus far. The Knicks did a lot of moving around, but ultimately they landed on a guy that I think can help them, another scoring guard that I think can help them, and a bouncy guy too on the back of the bench that was really interesting. They picked up another high-level athlete, the dude that broke the record on the 48. I think he jumped 48 inches on his high jump. I don't know how to describe what he did, but he broke the record on the high jump. So they sent him to the Clippers. I think he's going to be an interesting piece. You're going to see him his high fly act in Staples next year. So this is a lot of stuff that I saw. The Atlanta Hawks got themselves a good point guard at the back of the second round. I think it's because he has some type of health condition, but this guy is comparable to Trae Young in terms of his pass to turnover ratio, I believe what it was. He's one of those guys who's comparable in statistics. So the last time I saw a dynamic like that, it was CJ and Dame. So look out, Atlanta. You might have picked up a player in the back of the second round, believe it or not. So it's just little stuff like that I remember taking place that kind of stood out for me. Other teams did a lot of the stuff. Of course, I have to go back through the draft. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff to talk about that I'm not thinking about. One of the picks that confused me a little bit was Josh Giddey. I think the Thunder took him at 10. I thought they left a lot of players on the board to pick up a guy who's considered a smart player, but under athletic in a draft that's full of athletes in an era where athleticism is very important. I just felt like the Oklahoma City Thunder reached for that guy, and they should have traded down. They could have got value for trading down and still got him somewhere around 14, 13. So unless they knew something that we didn't know, obviously, that Josh Giddey pick was a bit different for me. He's going to be a helpful piece. Don't get it twisted. In fact, he fits what they're doing too. So I can see the appeal, and he's a good place for him to go. But I just felt like for the value, you trade down. You definitely trade down. So I thought that was a little bit of a head scratcher for me. So on and so forth, man. So on and so forth. I thought the Warriors were the ones that may have been the luckiest in the room tonight, because I don't think they wanted to draft those draft picks. They would much rather trade those draft picks and get back the players that they really wanted, like a Bradley Beal or somebody like that. But they ended up getting Jonathan Kuminga, who, even though a lot of people think is overrated and shouldn't be at the top of the draft like that because of some of his shortcomings, he's a fantastic athlete, and they wanted him. See, that's the key to it. The Golden State Warriors have had their eye on this guy, and they wanted him. So they got him.
But then with their second pick, they got Moses Moody, who's a fantastic scorer, another fantastic shooting guard that they can throw in there, a shooter, someone who's going to fit right in. He wasn't supposed to fall that far at all. He was definitely not supposed to fall to Golden State, second pick. So I think they may have come out of there as one of the winners of the draft as well, just considering the fact that they didn't really want those picks, and they ended up getting two guys that they really, really wanted ultimately. So, yeah, you gotta love how that turned out for the Golden State Warriors. They definitely won tonight. So those are the guys that stand out. There are more. I may make another video when I can remember, but I thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna eat some breakfast, and I'm out.